Hey, I have got an amazing episode for you. We're going to make the most delicious apple Kentish cake with cider. And then I have got the most incredible gluten-free, yes, you heard it, gluten-free lemon drizzle cake. Kentish apple cake. It's a very traditional recipe. When I was a judge on Britain's Best Bakery, it was one of those test bakes that we did for all the contestants. Now, it's beautiful in flavour, and it all starts with a Bramley apple. It's tart, it's sour, it's got a lovely sort of cooked down texture. It's the perfect apple for this recipe. All right, so first thing we need to do is get a non-stick pan on the heat, and I'm just gonna peel my apples. So
can you use like normal everyday eating apples for this?
You can, but sometimes they get a bit too sweet and they sort of break down to nothing. You want an apple that will hold its shape and also that's not too sweet. So you kind of maybe go Granny Smith, something like that, that's a bit more tart.
Okay.
Pip has heard the apple and the apple corer, so she's now by my side, aren't you? You don't think you're allowed cooking apples, Pip. I'll get rid of that peeling. Now, I've got this pan on. What we're going to do to reinforce the apple flavour is we're going to caramelise our apples in a bit of cider. All right? Whee! So, half a can of cider and get it on to boil, and we're going to reduce it while we're preparing our apples. So I'm going to put that on full power. And then we'll get our other apples peeled. Now, if you have any questions at all about today's recipe, about any of the recipes that you've seen on this series or the last series, please just post them in the comments below. And I will answer them as best I can and as quickly as I can. And also remember, if you want the recipes from today's episode and all the series of Peter Sidwell's Kitchen, Britain's Best Bakes, we've called it, because we're going to take all sort of British bakes and we're going to play with them a little bit like I do, make them better, make the flavours good. Just type in the comments below, free book, and then you will see it launches in Facebook Messenger. Follow the instructions and you will get delivered a beautiful PDF ebook that Emily has created for us. Right, last apple. I have peeled both apples so far without stopping. I'm going for it again. I'm going for my hat trick. Have to do this. Can't peel an apple now without not stopping. We're going to get there. I do feel like it might be a lot to do with a very good peeler from my friends at Masterclass.
Hey.
Look at that. Boom. Success. Got my hat trick. Like it. Right. Get rid of those. Okay. You don't have to, it's not an essential part of the recipe to be able to do that, but it makes me happy. Right, let's have a knife. I'll just grab a knife. Okay, so what we need to do is cut. You can see that cider is boiling down nicely. I'm just going to cut the core off my apples on all four. So into quarters and then just cut the core out. Okay. Have you had a Kentish apple cake before, Emily?
I haven't actually. Obviously there's quite a few like different apple cakes out there, but I've never had one like this.
Is this the closest to Kent you've ever been?
It is, yeah.
I thought it might be.
Yeah.
Right, let's get rid of those. Sorry, Pip, can't have those. Right, little sip of coffee. Pop that there. Right, just while we're going, star anise. Beautiful combination of flavours in the cider. Okay, and then a little pinch of cinnamon, not too much, but just like 1/4 teaspoon of ground. All right, I'm just going to knock that right down now. And then we take our apples. So I've got quarters cut into 3 and then straight in. Okay? Again, I don't want them to be too small because I don't want them to disappear in the bake. It feels quite autumnal, this recipe. It feels like we're heading to autumn.
Yeah,
with a nice apple cake. We're going to flavour the sponge with a little bit of black treacle, which always makes me think of bonfire nights and, you know, things like that. Treacle is like a really dark, thick molasses that we have in the UK. It's lovely. Right, let's just get that up to the boil. So we don't want to completely caramelise these, we just want to cook them down a little bit. While we do that, it's time for our sponge, okay? So we're going to have a little masterclass in sponge making. Are we all right with my bowl there, Emily?
Yeah.
Are you happy?
Always happy.
Right, so stalk or not to stalk? That is the question. Butter or margarine? The debate is there. Post in your comments below whether you're a margarine person or a butter person.
Margarine.
I know. Do you know what? I used to scoff at margarine, but stalk, thank you for whoever makes stalk, absolutely works the best, in my opinion. But butter, I like the flavour. So we've got some soft brown sugar. So 250 grams of butter or margarine, 225 grams of soft brown sugar. Normally, I would add equal amounts of butter to sugar, but I'm going to add some treacle, which will compensate for the slightly less sugar. So I'm going to go 25 grams of black treacle. Do you like treacle?
Oh, yeah. Me and my granddad used to make treacle toffee when I was a kid.
Love it.
And, oh, yeah. That is proper autumn, winter.
I've got a really good recipe, which you will either have seen or going to see in this series, called a beacon brown, and it's a lovely bread that's enriched with black treacle. Either wait for it or go back and find it because it's amazing. Right, just wash my hands. Okay, so in room temperature, and we'll start to cream these together. And then while that's happening, I'm just going to give my apples a little shake. That cider's just reduced right down, but the apples are now giving out liquid as well, so it's kind of compensated for the two. And the reason why we get the cider in first is to reduce that flavour and get that almost syrup, so that then when the apples start to cook and release their apple juice, you kind of don't end up with it being too watery. Right, I'm just going to turn this up. So the idea is to cream the sugar and the butter together so that they become one texture. Usually you'll sort of hear it scratching a little bit, and that's the sugar dissolving in the fat. So once it stops scratching, that's when you know it's ready to go.
If you don't have brown sugar, can you use normal caster sugar?
You can, but what you won't get is that sort of deep, treacly, toffee-like flavour. And what I'm trying to get is that like toffee apple cake.
Yeah.
So if you had only white sugar but treacle, add a little bit more treacle, a little bit less sugar.
Yeah.
And that will still give you that nice treacly flavour. Okay, so that's ready. Switch over eggs, add them room temperature, one at a time. Okay? And then fully mix that in before you add the next one. If you're Emily, you'll just chuck everything in and hope for the best, don't you?
Yeah.
It is the ongoing debate between me and Emily, is this way of making cakes. You chuck everything in, don't you?
Yeah,
all in one method.
All in one method.
Again, the jury's out. The science suggests that you don't do that, but if your cake's good, then your cake is good.
We'll test that theory.
We will. One day, we'll have a cake-off on camera. Maybe we'll have to put one of those little face signs that our friend does, you know, with his kids. Online. Posts all them pictures, but puts a cover over.
Yeah.
Anyway, right. Can you see how it's changing texture? It's loosening up, and that egg is fully incorporated. So last egg. There we go.
What happens if it splits?
Doesn't split if you do it like this. Doesn't split. So one egg at a time, fully mix it. Just take your time. Fully incorporate the eggs. The eggs are the elasticity of your cake. Right. Can you see those apples are just starting to catch now? That's because the moisture's come out. I'm going to switch the heat off now. Okay, so all our eggs are in, finally. 250 grams of self-raising flour. Now, if you are over in America, you don't have self-raising flour, you have all-purpose flour with a baking powder addition ratio. Carlos has a nice graphic that he'll add in here, and that'll tell you how much to add to make sure this works, okay? But for the rest of us, 250 grams of self-raising flour. Maybe we need to bring self-raising flour out in America, make our millions. What do you reckon?
I think that sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, so slowly mix it together. You don't want to work it too much because you don't want to work the gluten. So you just, once that flour's mixed in, stop, okay? Right, I'm going to stop. And then I'm just going to change over to a spoon and then catch that last little bit of flour there. So I turn the spoon one way and the bowl the other way, and that will just incorporate any of the last bits of flour, and that is your cake mixture done. Okay? See that? You see that, Emily?
Yeah.
So it'll just drop. If it doesn't drop, add a tiny little bit of milk and fold it in until you get that same texture. Okay, let's put that to one side. Now, I've got my tin here. So this is a loose-bottomed 8-inch tin, which would be in centimetres. What would that be in centimetres? 8 inches? 20 centimetres?
2 centimetres.
20 to 22. We will double check that for you, and I will post it in the comments. Right. I've lined it with a piece of parchment paper, and the reason why I've done that is I want it to come up the sides. Can you see? What's the best way to show you that, Emily?
Overhead. Yeah.
Overhead. You can kind of see that it's come up the sides because I want it to capture any caramel and juices. If you didn't put that in, it'd all spill out in the bottom. So it's just a little precaution, but actually it makes the cake better. So let's take some of our apples. We want a nice even layer of apples all the way along. So I'm gonna just take a little bit of time because this will be the top of the cake. So you want it to look good. So I'm just gonna pop this all the way around. Yep. Okay, last little piece. So what we've got is a complete even layer all the way on the bottom. It covers everything. When we turn it out, it'll look delish. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit of honey and just drizzle that on the bottom. Just like maybe 2 teaspoons, that's enough. You could use maple syrup if you wanted to, you know, whatever you like. Just that little bit of sweetness, apple, as it bakes, it'll break down lovely. And then on with your cake mixture. Now this isn't an icing sort of sandwich cake. You don't put buttercream in the middle. This is a turn it out, have a wedge. Maybe you serve it with a bit of cream, maybe even custard.
Oh, yeah, custard.
Yeah, you see, now you've woken up, haven't you?
Yeah.
And then use your back of a spoon from the centre, push it out one way and then across to the other side. So you're not pulling the cake batter from one side to the other, you're pushing it out. And that'll make it spread out nicely. There we go. And then just grab that last little bit. And then you might just want to lick the bowl if you want to. Little tap. There we go. And that'll just get rid of any air pockets. They'll just drop out as you do that. And then we're going to bake this in the oven, 170 degrees. It's probably going to take 35 to 40 minutes because it's a full deep cake, okay? So you want to make sure it's cooked. Now, to make sure that it's baked or cooked, whichever you prefer, use a skewer, poke it in, it wants to come out clean. And then when you press the top of the cake, it should spring back. Okay, while that cake's baking, let me show you how to make the most delicious gluten-free lemon drizzle cake.
Making this gluten-free lemon drizzle cake is super easy. First thing you need to do is take your white caster sugar and room temperature butter, pour them into a mixing bowl and cream them together using an electric mixer. Really spend the time to amalgamate those two ingredients together. Then add in your eggs. Add them into the mixture and continue to beat. And once the first egg is completely incorporated, then add the second. But remember, add room temperature eggs. Then zest your lemons. Use a fine zester and make sure you get all the lovely yellow and none of the white. Sift your gluten-free self-raising flour into the bowl. Then add in your poppy seeds and begin to fold together. Treat it like a normal cake that would have gluten in. It's no different. Fold it together. Don't beat it, don't stir it. Just gently fold it together till you have a nice soft cake batter. Then into a 2-pound loaf tin lined with baking parchment. Use the back of a spoon just to spread it in. And then it needs to go into an oven, 170 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes. Drizzle your gluten-free lemon and poppy seed cake in a delicious syrup of lemon juice and sugar. Dredge it. Give it that tangy, sweet, unctuous flavour that makes a lemon drizzle so blooming delicious. And this is my beautiful apple cake, baked and ready to eat.
Now, if you want the recipe, put in the comments below the video, free book. Just type it in, follow the instructions that are on the screen here at the moment. It'll launch into Facebook Messenger. Just answer the questions and then it will deliver automatically a PDF of 20 amazing Peter Sidwell's Kitchen, Britain's best bakes recipes. You'll absolutely love it. And if you do bake anything, post us some comments, post us some images. I would love to see your bakes. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.